New trends that will dominate fall and winter 2026. That's right, new trends that are already viral. So, come with Mia. Our number one trend is maximalist minimalism. Without a doubt, this is one of the main trends of 2026. I've commented on it before. You know that I always bring up trends well in advance, like when I talked about essentialism here on the channel. What is this idea of maximalist minimalism, of essentialism? You will have that minimalism that we already know. More neutral colors, more versatile pieces that are easy to combine, but with an extra flavor, an added differential. So, the pieces come with something that takes away that boring minimalist look. In recent years, minimalism was a big hit. We had a lot of that thing about the basic white t-shirt, basic black t-shirt, a pair of jeans that you can combine with everything, which is no problem at all. In fact, I think the idea of a capsule wardrobe, a leaner, more practical wardrobe, but one that has quality pieces that relate to your personality, is super interesting. However, when minimalism became a big hit, it ended up becoming a standardized thing. So everyone had to have the number of coats, blouses, pants, skirts, always the same colors, neutral tones. And what we are seeing within the trends for 2026 is that we will have a differential there. So, the focus at this moment is, firstly, on quality. The cut of the piece has to be impeccable. It is a piece that may naturally be a little more expensive, but it doesn't necessarily have to be expensive. And at first glance, it is a piece that seems simple, but they have a little dose of opulence, whether in the fabric, the proportion, or the accessory. When we are talking about the look as a whole, you can think, for example, of that reference to slightly more neutral color palettes, of that 90 seconds minimalism, but with richer textures, slightly more exaggerated silhouettes. Imagine, for example, that sculptural volume of Balenciaga, generally a little more exaggerated, or that luxury with a little more texture from the row. So, you can see that there is something more there. It is not that simple thing that we are used to. How can you use this trend in 2026? The key is to bring in a statement piece, something that contrasts a bit. You will indeed invest in more neutral colors to maintain this essence of minimalism. So black, white, off-white, gray, and even brown, which, as you know, is one of the main colors of 2026, especially cocoa powder, which was elected one of the main colors. However, all these colors will come associated with a slightly more maximalist touch. So, you can imagine a slightly more sculptural bag, but in leather. And this bag having some highlight, some different shape. I recently brought a video here with 30 accessories for 2026, and we had a fortune cookie shaped bag there, which, in addition to being fun, also brought that minimalist, but at the same time, differentiated touch. And this is what we are going to focus on, this maximalism within minimalism. You can also think of statement jewelry. It doesn't have to be fine jewelry. It doesn't have to be gold or silver, okay? It can be made of another material, but they are larger pieces, larger earrings, larger necklaces, larger bracelets, all to bring a little more of that exaggeration, even when combined with simpler pieces. With jeans and a t-shirt, you can also choose, for example, a thick wool scarf to draw attention to the upper part of your look. The idea here is to keep the colors of the most minimalist table, so black, white, off-white, gray, always with this touch, but with added luxury. You can do this through the fabrics, wool, silk. It can also be a slightly duller satin, leather. In fact, this leather can be a more textured leather, such as croc emboss leather. So, always bringing something extra there. If it's not in the shape, invest in texture. Instead of buying, for example, black pants, simply black, you can buy velvety black pants. In this way, you bring a little more texture to your look, moving away from that somewhat dull minimalism, you know? That minimalism that looks like a mathematical equation. So, pieces that have a differential, that have slightly more neutral and easy to combine colors, and that are of extreme quality, will work very well. If you are a sophisticated woman, if you are a woman who likes a more elegant style, this trend is perfect for you because it doesn't become that dull minimalism and, at the same time, it doesn't become that super exaggerated luxury. It is the perfect middle ground for the woman of 2026. Number 2 is the funnel neck coat. The funnel neck coat is the personification of discreet elegance for fall and winter 2026. Its origin dates back to a more classic European tailoring. It is that slightly more utilitarian winter clothing that prioritizes protection and comfort, perfect for those who live in colder regions, okay? And it will even end up replacing the use of a scarf. This coat brings a more modern touch, while subtly referencing the 60 seconds and the haute couture of the time. It is an evolution of the turtleneck, neck, but with a slightly more rigid and sculptural structure that will embrace your neck. Didn't we talk about maximalist minimalism earlier? So, this coat goes very well with this aesthetic. How will you wear this coat in 2026? You can opt for midi or long-length coats. This piece will be seen in slightly more structured fabrics to give a little more structure to this funnel shape here in the neck region, but you will also find slightly softer versions. It is a piece that looks wonderful if you wear your hair up or pulled back. In this way, you enhance this line of the neck. It is a perfect look to wear both in the work environment and at events that require a little more formality. It is also perfect for that woman who likes a more sophisticated and elegant style because it maintains this structure, this power, you know? So, it will work very well for you if your style already has this more luxurious and, at the same time, practical look for everyday life. Regarding colors and fabrics, you can choose more classic colors such as black, navy blue, light gray, even caramel, which, by the way, works very well. I cannot fail to mention the issue of brown. As I said before, brown is very much on trend for 2026, but you can also choose a slightly bolder color. If you want a slightly more reddish tone, I would tell you to go towards, for example, burgundy, which has been positioned as a new neutral and which will bring that more modern, more differentiated touch without being exaggerated. The cut of this coat should be a slightly straighter cut, slightly oversized, without being exaggerated. You cannot be swallowed by the coat. It has to fit perfectly on your body. But this model is naturally a slightly more oversized model, and the collar must have a certain rigidity to bring this more modern look. Avoid coats that, when you put this collar up, it becomes soft, otherwise you will lose this effect. It will fall and will not have this effect. It is very interesting when we combine it with flare pants. It also looks good with skirts, pencil skirts for example. It is quite interesting. Midi skirts, whether flared or pleated skirts, will also look great with this type of coat. It works with tailoring, that is, it can be combined with many pieces. If you don't like that very big coat, a tip is to choose models that are more fitted at the waist or that have some type of tie at the waist. You can also wear a belt. In this way, you will create that more hourglass guitar-shaped silhouette, which will bring a more feminine air and will make it easier when you wear it. Number 3 is the pop of red. The pop of red, certainly. The idea here is to bring that touch of energy to fall and winter 2026. Red has always been associated with the color of passion, power, confidence, and even has historical roots that date back to royalty costumes and even haute couture. In 2026, it moves away from that completely red look to become a very intentional touch of color among neutrals. The idea here is that tones such as vibrant red or even cherry red and burgundy are placed in small details. The details here can be, for example, shoes and bags. In this way, it is even much easier to use. You can, for example, be dressed entirely, from head to toe, in a look entirely in charcoal gray, or entirely in beige. And then red comes in the shoe, in the belt, in a glove. The idea here is that it is a beautiful, differentiated piece. You can, for example, invest in leather pieces. And of course, this shade of red will vary according to the shade of red that works best for you. If your beauty is a more vibrant beauty, a tomato red tone will look very beautiful on you, especially if your beauty is a slightly warmer beauty. At the same time, if your beauty is a cooler and softer beauty, the tone you should prioritize is burgundy. If you have a more neutral beauty, cherry red will work better for you. So, always choose the shade of red according to what favors you, what makes you more beautiful. For this, you need to know what your personal coloring is. Knowing this, you will know the shade that enhances you. But just knowing whether your beauty is colder or warmer, you are already one step ahead. I would say that the most elegant way to wear this trend in 2026 is through accessories. So, you can wear a high boot or a marvelous stiletto, or a differentiated bag that will also attract a lot of attention. I think it's incredible when the person combines a bag, belt, and shoe. It doesn't have to be all three, but for example, there's a burgundy red bag and a burgundy red shoe. It looks divine. It looks super interesting. You can also choose to use this color in details in a t-shirt print. It will also work very well. You can use it in scarves, remembering that scarves are very fashionable, and this scarf can be used in different places. You can wear this scarf as a belt. You can wear this scarf holding your hair as a headband. You can also wear it attached to your bag. That is, it is very versatile. It is a versatile piece that you can use in different places to bring that touch of red. The most interesting thing is that you can continue to use that slightly more neutral color palette that we will have this season with black, white, navy blue, and bring a slightly more fun touch, also taking advantage of red, since red was one of the main colors of recent seasons. So, if you have that very basic look, all gray, all beige, or all black, I highly recommend that you put that little touch of red that can come in a baguette bag. It can come in the collar of a shirt showing underneath like that. That is, something simple, but that attracts attention. Remembering, the rest of the look has to be neutral, and you will put this touch of red where you want to draw attention. If you want to draw attention to your face, a red lipstick will be very interesting. A red collar showing will be very interesting. If you don't want to draw attention to your face, then you go towards the bag, the shoe, the belt, and other pieces that will not focus on the upper part, okay? Number 4 is stripes. In this fall-winter 2026, stripes appear with great force. They even refer to nautical style, preppy style. Stripes are that classic print, and although they never go out of style, there are moments and there are also types of stripes that are more or less highlighted. What I find most interesting is that in 2026, they come in different pieces, generally a lot of tailoring, so blazers, pants, and coats. You should also invest in mixing stripes, so we will have a very large combination of thin, thick stripes, which can appear in the same shade or in different shades. We will have the combination of colorful stripes in addition to striped accessories. So, a striped scarf, for example, has become a very recent stripe trend. It appeared in our video where we talked about the 30 accessories for 2026, but stripes need to have some care, especially depending on the effect you want these stripes to have. If you are a woman who wants to look a little taller, a little thinner, the idea is that you choose vertical stripes. In this way, you will be able to lengthen your silhouette, and in this case, you should avoid horizontal stripes because these tend to make you look a little wider, especially when we talk about thicker stripes. They also cause that cutting effect, which will make you look a little shorter. I am petite, so I avoid thick horizontal stripes because it ends up flattening me. It doesn't enhance me. You can choose a totally creative combination of stripes, but I would say it's always more worthwhile to choose more timeless pieces and choose pieces that will not go out of style anytime soon. So, the combination, for example, of black and white is a combination that always works, which enhances most people. If you are a woman with a slightly lower contrast, as is my case, my contrast is medium. I don't look good in black and white. I need something a little more subtle. So, I can combine, for example, navy blue and white, gray and white. It's possible to combine very well too, and they are also slightly more classic tones. An option that I always find wonderful is the combination of white, red, and navy blue, which refers to that French aesthetic and also to the nautical style, which was a big trend hit and continues in fashion. In fact, it is a style that, in my opinion, is one of the most beautiful styles and that never goes out of style. It always looks very elegant, very youthful, very sophisticated and practical for everyday life. Very easy to combine. Remembering that the shade of red, the shade of blue, all of this will depend on your beauty. So, in my case, I would combine a more burgundy red with navy blue, a little more grayish, and off-white. If you have a more vibrant beauty, you can choose a cobalt blue together with tomato red and white, because these colors will enhance your beauty, which is a more vibrant beauty. So, keep that in mind. You should always adapt the aesthetic, adapt the trend to your beauty. Do not follow trends blindly, just buying what is fashionable. See what enhances you, what will make you more beautiful. This is how you make smart purchases. And tell me what your favorite fall-winter piece is. I want to know. Did you know that your comment influences the choices of the other subscribers here on the channel? I love seeing you exchange tips. So leave your opinion and your comment here. And, of course, you know that it helps me a lot by putting those magical words of the day, which today are Fall-Winter 2026. I count on your help to continue bringing videos here every day. While you do this, we will continue with the video. Number 5 is curves. If we have the idea of maximalist minimalism, bringing more structure, the curves trend is a slightly more feminine response to this trend. It will mark the triumphant return of the hourglass silhouette and will bring, for example, a lot of focus on more fitted blazers and coats, as well as the reinterpretation of the peplum. This trend refers to Dior in the 40 seconds and 50 seconds, and celebrates the femininity and power of the 80 seconds, where women wore the marked waist as a great symbol. In 2026, curves come as a form of power dressing, a softer and slightly less rigid touch. How can you use this trend in 2026? The fitted blazer is certainly a key piece. It can have subtle shoulder pads, okay? but they will elevate the slightly more dramatic effect. The most important thing is the cut of the waist, which must be adjusted. An idea, in fact, is that you take a blazer that you already have and take it to the seamstress so that she can make this more fitted detail. In this way, you use a piece that you already have, but with a slightly more creative touch and bringing this detail that makes all the difference. As you can see in the image, a good fitted blazer is simply wonderful. You can also cinch this blazer through belts. So, here, you can choose a thinner belt or even a slightly more creative statement belt, as belts will also be very fashionable for 2026. The peplum returns in a softer way, so you will have a structured ruffle at the bottom. You don't need a piece with a lot of ruffles. Run away from very exaggerated pieces. The idea here is that it should be something a little more subtle. You can combine it with flare pants. It looks great. Fitted midi skirts will also reinforce this idea of body curves and will make the look marvelous. You can invest in more sober colors, such as black, navy blue, gray, and wine, which are marvelous ideas, especially when we talk about blazers. Another color that I find marvelous is parchment, which would be very close to off-white and looks marvelous for tailoring, so it is perfect for a fitted blazer. In fact, it is one of the colors that I find most beautiful and most valued when we talk about color trends for 2026. Regarding fabrics, they must bring a certain structure, but nothing too full-bodied, especially if you want a slightly more fluid touch. So, choose wisely. Avoid synthetics so that you don't feel hot. If you are going to choose a peplum blouse to wear in 2026, I recommend lighter fabrics such as silk and viscose, which have a very elegant and fluid drape. Satin is also possible, but get a slightly duller satin. That wedding dress satin, it looks great. Very interesting. And you can combine it with a fitted black blazer, which will make this look simply stunning. And with pants, here you can choose, for example, straight pants, which can be both tailored and even straight black jeans, which will also bring that professional, powerful look with that slight touch of the sexy style. A tip is that if you are going to invest in fitted pieces, such as a fitted blazer, avoid very voluminous blouses underneath. The fit must be perfect. So, avoid a piece that has a lot of ruffles, a lot of volume, because otherwise you won't be able to close this blazer and it will end up looking ugly, right? Trying to squeeze a very voluminous piece under a fitted blazer will not work. As for the peplum, the rule is very clear. If the top part has volume, the bottom part should not have so much volume. So, if you choose a blouse of this type, avoid pants with many elements, with a lot of volume, too flashy. In this way, you balance and keep your look much more sophisticated. Number 6 is coats with integrated scarves. This is a cooler and more practical trend for fall-winter 2026. The idea here is to bring that concept of effortless chic. That is, you are ready, elegant, sophisticated, but without having to think too much when putting together your look. The inspiration comes from classic tailoring, where scarves and shawls were inseparable accessories from coats. But the idea here with the scarf coat, which can be either sewn or removable, was to create a more practical version of this idea. And, of course, it was popularized by minimalist Scandinavian brands, uniting functionality and style in a single piece. In 2026, I would say that this piece can appear in different versions. The first is a coat with an extended collar that can be rolled up, simulating a scarf, and also a coat with a removable scarf, but which can even be sewn here in the nape region. The idea is that this scarf material is the same as the coat. In this way, you will unite them in a unique way, making them look like a single piece. The secret is to wear it naturally. Let the scarf fall casually over the shoulder, or tie a very simple knot, especially since these scarves are generally a little more structured, so we can't keep tying several knots, right? It ends up being something overly bulky. The idea here is something a little more discreet, a little softer, but at the same time, super sophisticated and elegant. Regarding colors, I would say that caramel, gray, off-white, black look marvelous with this type of coat and bring that modern touch to the piece. The material must be very soft, but at the same time, luxurious. If you can invest in pure wool, it will be marvelous. You can also have a mixture of materials there, but avoid synthetics because they, in addition to not having such good durability, also don't warm up as they should. So, always prioritize natural materials. The cut of this coat can be straight or, alternatively, in the tied waist shape, which is also very on trend for 2026. I would say that it looks marvelous combined with fitted pants, whether leggings or leather pants. They also look perfect with slightly higher boots, especially below the knee boots and riding boots, creating that super sophisticated and at the same time interesting look. This look also works very well within that maximalist minimalism aesthetic that we talked about earlier. A practical tip when you wear it: if the scarf is very long, avoid wrapping it around your neck many times because this will visually shorten your neck and your silhouette. Keep the knot or tie simple and loose. In this way, you create a more modern look. If the coat is already very voluminous, avoid wearing it with very large, very flashy bags. And of course, this coat will be the main focus of your look. So, on the bottom, focus on something less voluminous and less flashy, even in relation to colors. If you want to draw attention to this piece, it should be the most colorful piece in your look. So, you can choose, for example, a wine version, and then, on the bottom, choose more neutral pieces in tones such as beige, caramel, or even black or gray. In this way, the coat becomes the great highlight. Number 7 is capes. Capes are the height of theatrical elegance for fall-winter 2026. They remind us of European royalty gala clothing, the glamour of the 50 seconds and 60 seconds. Just remember the Hollywood divas, always with a dose of a lot of refined femininity. The cape is a statement piece that transforms any basic look into a super stylish look, and its presence on haute couture runways is constant. But it is clear that in 2025 and 2026, it appeared with more force, and precisely because of this, it ended up becoming a hit for fall-winter. In 2026, I would say that you can invest in midi and long-length pieces in nobler and structured fabrics. The secret is to wear it as the main piece of the look, keeping what is underneath a little more fitted and minimalist. Or, alternatively, you can also focus on slightly more bohemian looks. In fact, Chloe brought a lot of the combination of slightly looser, more fluid dresses, combined with a leather cape and leather boots, bringing the mixture between the weight of the leather and the softness of the fluid fabrics within a very boho look. I would say that you can invest, for example, in a black, caramel, or gray cape. In this way, you can combine it with a greater variety of looks. The fabrics, as I said, must be slightly heavier. Structured fabrics, so tweed, suede, even velvet and leather, will be very on trend. The colors, you can have a wide variety, but as we are talking about a slightly more unusual piece, I would say that slightly darker pieces tend to be easier to combine. Black, brown, especially a more coffee brown, or alternatively, cocoa brown, will combine very well with most looks and also combine very well with boots and leather shoes, which generally also combine very well with these capes. Leather capes also work very well, as they will end up bringing a slightly more modern look to this piece. So, if you choose, for example, a lace cape there, it will refer to something a little older. If you choose leather, you will bring this modernity, which will even bring that touch of rejuvenation. The cut of this cape is the most important. So, straight shoulders with a drape that is straight, or A-line. Generally, the A-line drape, in my opinion, is the most beautiful and the most feminine. And if you are going to wear this piece with a dress, for example, you need to choose whether you will want a slightly shorter or a slightly longer cape. If the cape is longer, wear a heel to lengthen your silhouette and avoid the shortening effect caused by that cut in the middle of the silhouette. If it is a cape that already has volume, it is crucial to maintain proportion on the bottom. So, do not put anything too voluminous, too ruffled. Exaggerated bell-bottom pants can end up making your look a little cluttered. If your style is very casual, a cape may seem exaggerated. So, use it on occasions that require a little more formality and glamour. Number A is tie waistcoats. Tie waistcoats are the meeting point between comfort and sophistication for fall-winter 2026. They bring a historical reference to the dressing gown and also to the Oriental kimono, of course, adapted to Western tailoring by designers who brought a little fluidity but also practicality to this piece. In fact, it is one of the icons of the 80 seconds and 90 seconds, bringing an elegant alternative to that slightly more structured coat. In 2026, it ends up becoming a symbol of unpretentious femininity. You can wear this piece with a lot of versatility. You can wear it over a work look, such as a long vest, or tied at the waist, like a dress. I would say that the chicest way to wear this type of coat is tied, either in a more unpretentious way, with a simple bow, or with a side knot. If you are a more romantic woman, give preference to the bow. If you are a more modern woman, or prefer a slightly more urban and casual style, the knot will work better within your aesthetic. In 2026, the main choice are the shorter models. That is, at the height of the thigh here, or even midi models. If you want an extra touch of glamour, you can opt for the longer models. In my opinion, they look simply marvelous. As we are talking about a coat that seeks a practicality, a neutrality, I would tell you not to choose pieces that are, for example, in black. They will look very beautiful, but they can be heavy and can bring an exaggerated glamour. Here, we are looking for something a little more practical, casual, for everyday life. So, caramel, gray, and even navy blue will work well and will bring this modernity, this casualness. The choice of fabric is crucial. So, depending on the temperature you want to maintain under your coat, you can choose materials such as wool, cashmere, or even a cotton lining, depending on the level of thermal comfort that you like best. The cut is usually a slightly loose, oversized cut to allow for drape in the tie, but it cannot be anything too exaggerated because otherwise it will look like a piece that you bought several sizes up and it will be exaggerated. It will not look beautiful. So, it is a subtle, oversized. It looks very beautiful with long boots. It also looks marvelous with dresses. I think it is very beautiful with skirts, especially skirts within the 50 seconds aesthetic. Larger, flared pieces. It looks beautiful. A tip when wearing this coat is that the tie should be adjusted right there on the thinnest part of the waist to create the maximum hourglass effect. If you want something a little bolder, you can exchange the fabric belt for a more structured leather belt within that statement aesthetic, that is, with a large buckle with some slightly more striking detail. And, of course, this will also add a touch of personality. A warning: if the fabric is too thin, it can lose its structure and look like a bathrobe, so this material needs to be slightly structured. If it becomes that droopy, shapeless thing, avoid it. It will look like you went out with a bathrobe instead of a beautiful and structured coat. And if you are enjoying this video, you need to be a subscriber here on the channel, because here there is a video every day talking about fashion, beauty, many tips for you to always stay up to date with what is fashionable and also know what favors you and what does not favor you. In this way, you become more beautiful every day, which is, of course, my commitment to you. So, subscribe and activate the bell so that YouTube notifies you every day when a new video comes out. While you do this, we will continue with the video. Number 9 is another trend that I brought here on the channel. It's been a long time. It started subtly, and now it's back with a vengeance, which is the slightly shorter trench coat in the cropped format. This is a more irreverent and practical update of the classic coat, which is perfect for fall, winter, 2026. The trench coat is very traditional. Its origin dates back to the early 20th century. In 2026, it appears a little shorter, gaining lightness and versatility, while maintaining all its iconic elements. How to wear it? The short trench coat is perfect for that mid-season with a mild climate. You can wear it with high-waisted pieces, such as tailored trousers or jeans, to maximize that leg-lengthening effect. It is, in fact, an excellent choice for shorter women. I would say the charm is to wear it open over a blouse that can be, for example, a turtleneck, bringing that casual and elegant look. Or you can opt to wear it closed and belted, as if it were a jacket. The classic beige color is certainly the favorite. You can choose other colors, such as navy blue and black, but I would say that beige is the one that works best. The traditional fabric is gabardine, but in 2026, it also appears in different versions, such as a more structured twill. You know that I am a big fan of both gabardine and twill because they bring that structured touch and a lot of thermal comfort at the same time. Furthermore, they are very resistant, practically indestructible. That is, perfect for a good coat. The cut should be a little straighter, slightly more square. And if you want a slightly more creative and daring look, you can also combine it with a mini skirt with long boots for a more statement visual. If the coat has many details, clasps, buttons, use few accessories in the rest of the look so as not to clash with the information of this piece, especially because it is a shortened piece that will attract a little more attention because it escapes that traditional pattern. If it is too short and you have wider hips, wear it open. In this way, you can bring a balance. So, short coat and large hips, wear it open. Short coat and smaller hips, you can wear it closed, like a jacket. It will also look super interesting. Number 10 is fur coats. Fur coats, especially fake fur, are a big hit for fall, winter 2026 as well. Fur, in its synthetic versions, comes with high quality, which brings the glamour of the divas of the 30 seconds and 40 seconds in Hollywood, associated with that luxury of the 80 seconds. In 2026, the focus is on texture, volume, and, of course, on pieces that come with fake fur, but with high performance. How to wear it. You can wear it in two versions. One is a fluffier and more textured coat, and the other is a coat with smoother and longer fur. They work very well with tighter pieces on the bottom to balance the volume. So you can combine it, for example, with jeans. It looks quite interesting. Jeans with boots and leggings also look quite interesting. The colors will vary. In fact, you will even find versions with animal print, so you can be quite daring. I would say that within our list, this is the most creative and most daring coat, but the focus has to be on quality fake fur. It has to be soft, it has to have volume, but it can't be that fur that if you put it in the washing machine, it will be ruined. It has to be a piece with slightly higher quality, and that's why sometimes you'll need to spend a little more money to get this piece. Avoid those very cheap pieces that you know won't last anything, that you'll wash once and they'll wrinkle, and the fur will mat. Another tip is that you will need to comb this fur, okay? So the longer the fur, the greater the risk of it matting. Keep that in mind. The cut is a more oversized cut to bring maximum glamour and also that cozy touch. If the coat is already that statement piece, then keep the rest more minimalist. Wear little jewelry or slightly more minimalist pieces and a structured, but not too large, bag. Also, be careful with fur coats that are very colorful because they can stain, and of course also with that very rough, very synthetic texture, okay? Otherwise, you will end up moving away from a luxurious look to a not so beautiful and not so quality look. This makes a lot of difference. And speaking of glamour, of structure, we need to talk about the 90 seconds because 90 seconds trends are back in full swing. And of course, you need to know what they are, right? So just click on this video that is appearing on your screen. I'll wait for you there.